in my hometown. Lakeshore Drive, the road is called, and it'll take you up or down. From rats on up to riches, 15 minutes you can fly. Pretty blue lights along the way, got you right on by. And the blue lights shining with a heavenly grace, got you right on by. Like it anywhere I found. We're running south on Lakeshore Drive, getting into town. We're just slipping on by on LSD, riding that troubled mound.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Chicago. We're at the Quincy L station, and we are going to board a train to Merchandise Mart. Though the train that's on the platform right now isn't the right one. And you can tell just from my talking. A few minutes later, the Purple Line train arrives at at Quincy. We're gonna get on it and head over to Merchandise Mart. From there, we eventually would go into a hotel for our stay.
This is the Purple Line Express. Doors closing.
Merchandise Mart. The same place, that the L Blue Richard Kimball's covered
is next.
in The Fugitive.
Doors open on the right at Washington and Wells. Transfer to Metro trains and City Hall at Washington and Wells.
What?
This is Washington and Wells. Transfer to Metro trains and City Hall at Washington and Wells.
Quincy, we started at Quincy.
This is the Purple Line Express. Doors closing. Merchandise Mart is next. In the direction of travel, doors open on the right at Merchandise Mart. Transfer to Brown Line trains at Merchandise Mart.
This is it, Dad? No, it wasn't. Or maybe we're stopped at a light. We're probably stopped at a light.
Your attention, please. We are standing momentarily waiting for signal clearance. We expect to be moving shortly.
Well, that answered that question. figured there was something up. It's probably a maintenance platform. I think it's mentioned.
Somewhere else?
I believe, like, when Richard Kimball was trying to talk to his lawyer,
This is Merchandise Mart.
he said he was
Transfer
in.
to Brown Line trains at Merchandise Mart.
He said he was in St. Louis,
This
but
is Purple Line Express.
a train going over was announcing that it was coming into Merchandise Mart. And
A lot of bird poop on the ground.
oh, got it. The next day, we began walking towards Chicago's Millennium Station. Unfortunately, though, we cannot go anywhere in Chicago without getting shot at least once. And the footage you're looking at right now is footage I took where we weren't getting shot at. Welcome to America. Soon enough, we got to Millennium Station, and we're going to board a Metro Electric District train. The station is also a terminus for the South Shore Line commuter rail line. It used to be an interurban, but just weeks before this trip, the South Shore Line became not an interurban anymore. I know. Yeah, we're inside a train car. We're underground. Here we go. Soon enough, though, we departed from Millennium Street Station, and we're going to go down to 55th, 56th, and 57th Street stations to go and visit the Museum of Science and Industry. 56th and 57th Street. And yes, that is the name of the station.
approaching Van Buren Street. Van Buren Street.
Van Buren Street.
Park University Park Trade. Next up, the Street Museum campus. Stops 18, 27, 47, stop 63rd to 107 are made by request only. You must notify who will be must be in front of the rest of the travel request travel this time. These have all 6 ammo apps updated to be all the time conduct they walk through. And as a reminder, all passengers must have face mask or face covering, coverage entirely nose and mouth across the trace to the trip. Once again, next stop, the Street Museum campus.
Next stop, Museum Campus, 11th Street.
That's interesting to see. Put a couple trains there. They built a fence around it that you can
Now
open.
approaching Museum Campus,
Every
11th
so often, I
Street.
guess they take the trains out.
Up top, everyone needs to have a mask on.
Here you go.
Okay. Give them to me. Thank you.
Sure.
You need mask.
Oh, man, everybody has to have a mask on. Sorry.
Oh shoot!
I got it.
Sorry.
No problem.
One moment.
This is Museum Campus, 11th Street.
That was Museum Campus, 11th Street.
approaching 18th Street flag stop. This is 18th Street flag stop. Next, stop McCormick Place. Now approaching McCormick Place. This is McCormick Place.
Huh? Next, stop 27th Street flag stop. Now approaching 27th Street flag stop.
Passenger on check.
Yes, no, the 47th Street. Hard to think of 37th Street. Come over here then. 27th Street, Kenwood, left off.
Are you sure? Because it looks like we're stuck at a light. Or the engineer isn't familiar with this territory.
Next stop, 53rd Street, Hong Kong. Now approaching 53rd Street, Hong Kong.
I think it's the next one, Dad.
This is 53rd Street, Hong Kong.
Alright, the next one is our stop, Dad.
Next stop, 57th Street. Now approaching 57th Street.
A little bit like the country.
Yeah, the cars were actually built up by the same company.
57th Street.
I don't know.
What train is this? University Park? University Park?
We got off our stop and headed for the museum. And at the museum, we saw the iconic Burlington Zephyr train set that was used in the famous Dawn to Dusk run that was set out by the CB&Q. Also at the museum was a display of U-boat U-505, which was captured by the Americans. And it had all sorts of information relating to the submarines and how the Americans captured it. That was easy. I also typed in a message that was slightly inappropriate so that the Enigma thingy could encode it. Also in the museum was a few displays of farming and a few pieces of equipment that was made by John Deere. Also here was a Boeing 727 from United Airlines, and the one thing that I came here for, trains. This here is New York Central 999, known best for a run where it allegedly hit over 100 miles per hour. This is also one of only 3 to my knowledge, New York Central steam locomotives that have been preserved. All the rest were scrapped because of both New York Central's financial situations and because of Alfred E. Perlman.
Oh, whoa, that steam engine! Good, it worked! I know it did!
Inside of the locomotive is also a display of how this run came to be, and there was also a voice, like a mock-up of the engineer who actually ran the locomotive, though he kinda looks like as if he's staring into your soul, kinda.
Mileposts using handheld stopwatches, just as in a track meet. Al, the fireman, fed coal to the firebox with strength and skill, and I pushed the throttle full out, and we roared through Batavia in a bellow of black smoke and a cloud of dust. A crowd of people who had come to watch us were thrilled to see us whirl through in the fastest train ever. Back in the coaches, one of our railroad men shouted, 32 seconds exactly! A 32-second mile. And that calculates to 112.5 miles per hour. An amazing new speed record. Some people questioned our exact speed on this record day. Mostly ruffians from the Pennsylvania Railroad. I believe that the 112.5 mile record was correct, but the skepticism still exists among rail fans even today.
And here is how I first knew of this museum, the great train layout. Years ago, I saw this program from TM Books and Videos that was called The Great Train Story, and it showed of this layout right here. And while I can't show some footage from the actual show because of copyright, I will briefly explain what I saw in that show and what's different now. Most of the rest of the actual layout and creativity and whatnot is still the same, but a couple of the trains have changed. Mainly the BNSF trains, as there's now H3, as that video that I saw years back had mainly H2 locomotives and also a couple of Santa Fe units in BN too. There's also the fact that in the actual program that I saw, there were 2 Amtrak trains that represented the Empire Builder, but now there's only 1 Amtrak train. The first Amtrak train actually had a Genesis pairing, while the second one had F40PHs, and also a couple of material handling cars. The video also showed Metropolitan Rail and a display of the CTAL, as well as what was at the time the interurban South Shore Line. There are also a few displays of like some of the stations and some fictional locations, as well as some mountains. And there's also the stations of King Street Station and Chicago Union Station. There are also a few, nowadays there are actually a few Union Pacific trains, as well as the typical BNSF trains, which is what are more commonly seen on the Northern Transcontinental Line in real life.
Those hit once or twice.
Also in the Seattle mock-up is a mock-up of what appears to be the Alaskan Way Viaduct. In real life though, the viaduct has since been demolished in 2019 and is being replaced by a tunnel, to my knowledge anyways.
That thing right there? That's a replica of the double-stacked highway in Seattle, but an earthquake in 2001 ultimately told the guys in Seattle, we have to tear this thing down before it kills a lot of people.
So they did?
Yeah.
There's also a tiny mock-up of King Street Station in Seattle, and of a port in Seattle.
Yeah, that's Seattle.
Though in real life,
That's
the
King
port
Street
in
Station.
Seattle is probably way bigger.
And that's a port in...
this likens back to an old time when trains used to exist and be used for shipping.
No, this harkens back from yesterday to today, where trains still used for shipping freight and all that.
Nice. Did you just use the word harken? Nice.
Yeah, I did use harken. Yeah. You know, in the thing that I watched, there were 2 Amtrak trains. One with an F40 just like that, and another with the Genesis.
Wait, look at that. Look at that trestle.
Huh?
Look at that bridge. That thing is massive.
Oh, that thing. I also saw that.
How about some UP, huh?
Yeah, there's a UP train.
I feel like they're underrepresented. So that's an arch bridge.
Yes. Alright.
They don't have trestle on there.
What?
Yeah, that's a trestle bridge behind you.
Yeah, I see that.
They don't have trestle on there.
No. Maybe it's because they think kids have seen it in stereotypical Western movie things. Oh, would you look at that? One of the flaps on those things moved.
Really? Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Aviation geeks, if that's not the flaps, please don't endlessly go into a mental breakdown and tell me in the comments. Just calmly tell me if I'm correct or if I'm not correct. You don't need to go batshit crazy. There was also a camera recording one of the model trains from the head end, though I wasn't sure which train had the camera.
Okay, that Yeah, definitely ain't the same.
There was also what appeared to have been a mock-up of the original rocket locomotive. And I actually went inside the Boeing 727. Planes with 3 engines like this, like the 727, DC-10, L-1011, etc., aren't common these days anymore. There was also a huge Lego display that was at the museum at the time, and since I like Legos, I decided why not? Because who doesn't like Legos?
Huh?
Passing over the bridge right there is a good line, a fine line, a hard line, and a bread line. It's called the South Shore Line, and it shares some of the Metro Electric District's tracks. I took some video of a few southbounds while we waited for a northbound train to arrive. Because this piece of track is owned by Metra, and it's so essentially a local agency, essentially means that Metra could add as many trains as it would like onto these tracks without having to deal with freight railroads. It also allows for Nick TD, who owns the South Shore Line, to also use the tracks into Millennium Station. I think so, anyways.
Why are there so many trains heading south today?
I think to the south is the main Earth. That's not Earth. So what do you? How do you expect me to answer that?
Whew. You don't want to fall down there. Especially not if a train were coming. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. The thing wasn't recording when I...
Last time you got on this side.
Yeah.
Coming into the station is said good line, fine line, hard line, and bread line that I saw a train of earlier. At the time of recording, though, the train only went as far as either Hammond or Gary, because past that they were double tracking the line into Michigan City at the time of recording.
Yeah, put your mask on. McCormick Place.
Sierra's Millennium.
Yeah, ours is Millennium.
exiting NOL's final stop all passengers. Millennium Net.
My name's Nick.
Thank you. Stop there called Harrison? Oh.
Later that day, we went along the Chicago L to a Giordano's to get some pizza.
Clark and Lake is next. Doors open on the right at Clark and Lake. Transfer to green, orange, and blue line trains at Clark and Lake.
Yeah. First we go to Merchandise Mart, then we back over here. Yeah, we're heading to Clark and Lake.
This is Clark and Lake. Transfer to green, orange, and blue line trains at Clark and Lake. This is a brown line train to Kimball. Doors closing.
Yes. Transferred. Go to the other side of the tracks at Merchandise Mart.
Merchandise Mart is next. Doors open on the right at Merchandise Mart. Your safety is important. If you observe unattended packages, vandalism, or suspicious activity, inform CTA personnel immediately. This is Merchandise Mart. This is a brown line train to Kimball.
I knew there was a train coming. But you never believed me, did you, Dad?
Washington and Wells is next. Doors open on the right at Washington and Wells. Transfer to orange and pink line trains at Washington and Wells.
Oh, right. Here we go.
Four-way elevated train terminus. Junction.
Four-way elevated train
Give
turn?
me any direction on that right there.
Pretty much.
This is Washington and Wells. Transfer to Orange and Pink Line trains at Washington and Wells. This is a Broadline train to Kimball. Doors closing. Doors closing. Quincy is next. Doors open on the right at Quincy. Transfer to Metra and Amtrak trains at Quincy.
Wait, is it dead?
This is corruption at its finest. Like, your wife is the president, you have an exec position, and your sister
This
has an
is
exec
Quincy.
position. Like, this
Transfer
just
to Metra
sucks.
and Amtrak trains.
Yep. Oh, what happened? Never mind.
And that's the photo of the pizza that we got. Man, if only Mom came with us. Then going back, we sorta kinda got on the wrong train and went one stop off of where we were supposed to go. But at least this gave me an opportunity to film some more.
Right. Here.
Doors closing. Thank you for riding the CTA Pink Line. Clark and Lake is next.
That there is Ogleville Station. It used to be the Chicago and Northwestern's terminal for its passenger trains, but nowadays only Metra uses that terminal. But who knows? Maybe there will be some more railroads that use Ogleville in the future.
This is Clark and Lake. Transfer to green, orange, brown, and blue line trains, City Hall, and the Thompson Center at Clark and Lake. This is a pink line train to 54th and Cermak.
No, it's the next one.
Doors closing. State and Lake is next. Doors open on the right at State and Lake. Transfer to red line trains at State and Lake. This is State and Lake. Transfer to red line trains at State and Lake.
Here, Dad.
This is a pink line train to 54th and Cermak.
The next day, we went with a friend of Dad's, and she showed us a place of hers, and conveniently, that place of hers had a view of some train tracks, so I took some video.
He constantly takes videos. Catalogs them somewhere. So, this is the Chicago River?
This is the Chicago River, and it goes about a mile that way, and then it empties into Lake Michigan. But here is where it splits and goes north and south.
Okay. And they're still building these, huh? That's
Yeah.
Sometimes it amazes me, it's like these cities, like they're still building these huge buildings in the middle of downtown these cities, you know? Did they tear something down to build that, or was it?
It was nothing.
No.
So this is, behind here is this gigantic mid-rise building.
Harrison, there's one going across the bridge.
Yeah, I see that.
And it's the merchandise mart, and it's owned by the Kennedys.
Mm.
And then that monstrosity over there.
And that is a Metro train that goes along one of the commuter rail lines that was once owned by the Milwaukee Road.
See. This is great, Harrison. See, you know, someday, Harrison, you could have a job in a place like this where you can be around trains all the time. So,
Over here you can see the trains on the west side.
you ever see, what do you know about the event when Rolling Stones and James Brown performed together? So, everything that you know about, well, a lot of what you know about it's a singer for the Rolling Stones. Jagger. Like, didn't exist before this event because he watched James Brown do his thing. They followed James Brown, and so he felt like he had to do.
And so we decided to go down to those tracks.
James Brown was kind of.
After a couple of minutes of waiting, we started to hear a bell, and I seriously thought that it was coming from one of the lines into Ogleville until and then out of the tunnel came one of Amtrak's Hiawatha service trains. The Hiawatha service was originally started by the Milwaukee Roads back in the 1930s, and now the Amtrak carries on this train today. Amtrak does want to expand the Hiawatha to 10 round trips per day, but unfortunately Glenview is being a thorn in their side to even expand service, unless the people in council of Glenview are bribed or something.
Mission accomplished, Dad.
After we went back into our hotel, we then went back out to ride the Red Line.
Just like in Washington, D.C., and just like L.A. Rush hour.
Doors closing. Doors open on the right at Chicago State. This is Chicago and State. Doors closing.
It looks like it's by Redwood and Austin. The other one, we got up at
Division is next. Doors open. next. Doors open on the right at North and Clybourne.
Your attention, please. Please follow public health guidelines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Protect our staff and other riders by wearing a face covering at all times while on CTA service. Do not...
This is Fullerton. Transfer to Purple and Brown Line trains at Fullerton. This is a Red Line train to Howard.
That's Brown Line, 20 route to the station, Brown Line.
We went on the Red Line train as far as Belmont. We thought that the L train fight between Richard Kimball and Sykes took place at Belmont Station, but in reality it took place at either Clark and Lake or State and Lake. And but Clark and Lake or State and Lake was named Balbo Station.
That was
This is Belmont. Transfer to Purple and Brown Line trains at Belmont. This is a Red Line train to Howard.
Yep, us here.
We are similar people. I know.
At this point though, my phone was kind of running a bit low on battery and space, so I skipped over a bit and now we're on the blue line.
This is Clark and Lake. Transfer to orange, green, pink, and brown line trains at Clark and Lake. This is a blue line train to O'Hare. Doors closing. Doors closing. Grand and Milwaukee is next. Doors open on the left at Grand and Milwaukee. Your safety is important. This is Grand and Milwaukee. This is a blue line train to O'Hare. Doors closing. Chicago and Milwaukee is next. In the direction of travel, doors open on the left at Chicago. This is Chicago and Milwaukee. This is a blue line train to O'Hare. Doors closing.
That was quick.
Division and Milwaukee is next. Doors open on the left at Division and Milwaukee. Your attention, please. Federal and local government health directives continue. This is Division and Milwaukee. This is a blue line train to O'Hare. Thank you for riding the CTA Blue Line. Doors closing.
Let's get off at the next stop then.
Damon is next. Doors open on the right at Damon. Standing passengers, please do not lean against the doors.
Yeah.
This is Damon.
We got off at Damon before heading back to our hotel
Damon is
for the
spelled
night.
with an E, not an O. Like my bro. Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Doors closing.
Hang on, Dad.
The next day, we would go on 2 more CTAL lines before we went to Chicago's Union Station to take the California Zephyr back home to Denver. The first one is the CTA Orange line. It would go all the way to Midway, but we didn't have time to go all the way to Midway.
This is 35th and Archer. Doors closing.
Huh?
Ashland is next. Doors open on the left at Ashland. Standing passengers, please do not lean against the doors. Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices, so as not to disturb other passengers. This is Ashland. Doors closing. Halstead is next. Doors open on the left at Halstead. Please familiarize yourself with the train communication and evacuation procedures posted in each car. Your attention, please.
Federal and local public health directives continue to require that riders wear a mask over their nose and mouth at all times on CTA trains and buses. Masks are required for all riders, regardless of vaccination status.
Huh?
You like to film going backwards.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes, I do.
is Halstead. Doors closing. Roosevelt is next. Doors open on the left at Roosevelt. Transfer to red and green line trains at Roosevelt. Your safety is important. If you observe unattended packages, vandalism, or suspicious activity, inform CTA personnel immediately.
going on around here.
This is an Orange Line train to downtown. Thank you for riding the CTA Orange Line. Doors closing. Doors closing. Harold Washington Library, State and Van Buren is next. Doors open on the right at Harold Washington Library, State and Van Buren. Transfer to red, blue, and brown line trains at Harold Washington Library, State and Van Buren.
Lake. We'll get off at the lake, one of the lake stops on the loop. Did the car just tilt over on this curve? Why is it tilting? Yep, we're in the loop again.
This is Harold Washington Library, State and Van Buren. Transfer to red, blue, and brown line trains at Harold Washington Library, State and Van Buren. This is an Orange Line train to Midway. Doors closing. Doors closing. LaSalle and Van Buren is next. Doors open on the right at LaSalle and Van Buren. Transfer to Metro trains at LaSalle and Van Buren.
That was quick.
This is LaSalle and Van Buren.
Huh?
Transfer to Metro trains at LaSalle and Van Buren.
Yeah.
This is an Orange Line train to Midway. Doors closing. Quincy is next. Doors open on the right at Quincy. Transfer to Metra and Amtrak trains at Quincy. This is Quincy. Transfer to Metra and Amtrak trains at Quincy. This is an Orange Line train to Midway.
Yep.
Iowa.
Huh?
Is that the Iowa?
Yeah. Yes. Goes to Milwaukee right as of now, but
Doors closing.
But Amtrak wants to expand the Hiawatha
This is Quincy.
to St. Paul and Minneapolis, and maybe even Green Bay
Washington
and
Wells
Madison.
is next. Doors open on the right at Washington and Wells. Transfer to Pink Line and Metro trains at Washington and Wells.
I'd imagine that if there was an Amtrak service to Green Bay, then if there was a home Packers game at Green Bay, the trains in would be packed. Probably.
Just like you made games that be big fans. Sometimes it's the way fans live.
This is Washington and Wells. Transfer to Pink Line and Metro trains at Washington and Wells. This is an Orange Line train to Midway. Doors closing. Doors closing. Clark and Lake is next. Doors open on the right at Clark and Lake. Transfer to Green, Blue, and Brown Line trains at Clark and Lake. This is Clark and Lake.
Transfer to green, blue, and brown line trains at Clark and Lake. This is an orange line train to Midway. Doors closing.
Next stop.
Doors closing. State and Lake is next. Doors open on the right at State and Lake. Transfer to red line trains at State and Lake.
Yes. Red line, orange line.
This is State and Lake. Transfer to red line trains at State and Lake. This is an orange line train to Midway.
Well, that was fun.
Doors closing. Doors closing.
Finally, we would get on a brown line train and head towards Union Station after we went to the hotel we stayed at and packed our bags.
Right, Dad, here we go.
Doors closing. Washington and Wells is next. Doors open on the right at Washington and Wells. Transfer to orange and pink line trains at Washington and Wells.
Thank you, Dad. Got a good hand on that thing, Dad. Appreciate it.
That's Marino's building right there. Zoom in on that.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Well, we didn't have an umbrella. Hard indeed.
This is Washington and Wells. Transfer to orange and pink line trains at Washington and Wells. This is a brown line train to Kimball.
No, next one.
Doors closing. Quincy is next. Doors open on the right at Quincy. Transfer to Metra and Amtrak trains at Quincy.
This is Quincy. Transfer to Metra and Amtrak trains at Quincy. This is a Brown Line train to Kimball.
Correct. Here we go.
After getting off at Quincy, we would soon head to Union Station, and then get on the California Zephyr to head home. But that will be the next video, because for now, this video is pretty long, and I don't think any of the users that have attention spans of 2-year-olds are even paying attention at this point. Even so, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.